Well, good afternoon and good morning to everyone, depending on where you're located, obviously. Welcome to the webinar for Australian electric vehicle specialists. We'll refer to them as Australian EVS. My name's Tim Eisenhauer. I work for On Market. We're the licensed investment platform that's helping Australian EVS with their crowdsourced funding campaign. Agenda for today, we're going to run somewhere between sort of 45 to 60 minutes, depending upon the number of questions. But I want to provide some details around the campaign and how you as a potential investor can get involved. I'm also going to introduce some senior management, the founder and CEO, and also the lead engineer for Australian EVS. They're going to give a short tour of the facility, which is really exciting, and also then a short presentation, a short overview presentation about the company and the investment opportunity and how you can get involved. I'll then move on to what we call questions from the crowd, and that's your opportunity to ask a question of either Edwin or Jai. So please, where the icon is below with the Q&A, please ask any questions at any time through there, and I'll try and get around to asking those questions if they haven't been asked before. So just some details around Australian EVS. They're looking to raise a maximum of $1 million from their crowdsourced funding campaign. The campaign at the moment is in a phase called what we call the expression of interest, the EOI phase. They've received interest so far from nearly 750 investors wanting to buy shares. So they're intending to buy shares. Approximate consolidated demand for that amount is around about 2.5 million, remembering that they have a maximum of $1 million. So they're oversubscribed at the moment from an intention standpoint. The question is this, in relation to bidders and conversion of that interest into bidders. The campaign opens to those that have expressed their interest on this Thursday, November 13th. So the offer document, their prospectus or information memorandum, for want of a different term, will be available there. I know there's been a lot of questions during the EOI phase around wanting to see that document, and that will be released then. It'll open publicly then next week to everyone else, those that haven't expressed their interest. Please remember that there is a $10,000 limit on retail. You can invest above that if you are a sophisticated investor. So the call to action, I think, for anyone online at the moment is if you haven't expressed your interest, please do so via our website on market.com.au. The benefit of doing that is you will get early access. So enough with that. I'd like to get onto the nitty-gritty of what we're here today, talk about Australian EVS and introduce you to CEO and founder Edwin, and then our lead engineer, Jai. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Yeah, it's really exciting to have you here and being part of our market. It's been fantastic these last few weeks. Just the interest from everyone's been really good. So it's exciting to be able to show you around today.
Okay, so I'll hand over to you guys. Right. They're going to give us a quick tour of the facility and get under. We can see a few Land Cruisers behind there and talk through some of the IP without giving too much away. And then we'll come back and get into some questions. We'll see some questions coming in from the crowd. I've got some questions myself. But play away, guys, and look forward to seeing the tour and taking us on under a few of the bonnets you've got there, a couple of different vehicles that you have.
So this is really our R&D center. So this is where we bring in new vehicles, particularly any new models that customers are wanting us to do. And by developing all the technicality, that's building up our IP and our catalog of products that we're trying to sell. So this one here is a Porsche. It's a 1960s Porsche, which is a pretty common conversion that people are wanting to do. And there's a whole range of reasons, which I'll go into during the presentation of why that is. And then the next step, after we've taken out all the petrol and diesel components, it's really getting into the scanning of a vehicle. So we can go into the engine bay and we get all the scanning data that goes into our computers that the engineers can then use. And then if we go around the back, you'll see all the frames taken off. So the thing that makes us unique is that we can pretty much build whatever the customers are looking for. So, if you want range of 100 kilometers or you want range of 1,000 kilometers, then you need specialist aftermarket builders like ourselves. And that's what we do. If you're wanting to have dual motors, single motor, if you want to have vehicle to load, vehicle to grid, they're the things that we're working on and we're developing ourselves. And then once you get all the data that goes into the computers and the engineers work through those steps, we can then come over, and this is where I'll hand over to Jai to talk through how we build these specialized battery boxes to suit whatever vehicle it is.
Yeah, so this is a fully battery electric Toyota Land Cruiser, so it's a 2024 model. First of its kind to have been fully electrified. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff that we do at Australian EVS bespoke to suit a vehicle like this, and it's the same for any conversion. So it's a lot of integrating of components and building bespoke pieces. So for this vehicle, we've got the battery pack apart right now for some testing. So we do these full boxes from scratch. We do all the internal components, all the charging systems, battery management, all the technical aspects like that. And yeah, packaging it all in the vehicle. So this one has 160 kilowatt hours of capacity. If you're familiar with EVs, that's more than any sort of passenger vehicle in the market in Australia right now. More than like an F-150 Lightning, things like that are done over the States as well.
Just whilst Jai's talking about batteries, so this is a standard delivery that we sort of get, and these are all directly from the factory in China, where we get various size modules. And the challenge is then connecting all these modules into the specialized battery boxes to suit the vehicle. And that's where our technicality comes into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at other aspects of what we do in a conversion, it's full integration with the electronics of the vehicle. So inside this cab, it doesn't really look any different to a standard Land Cruiser, except we've gotten rid of the manual gear shifter. You've just got a keypad there. As far as the instrument cluster, all your controls, it's all like a factory vehicle. So we really intend for someone driving this car to not really know the difference, apart from it being silent. Makes it a lot easier for fleets and utility vehicles where you don't want a fancy vehicle per se and a big screen. You just want to get in and go, just like a normal car.
Particularly for our mining clients as well. So if you're out in the mine site, middle of Australia, yeah, it might be something like you get the wing mirror broken and you need to be able to have that vehicle back on the road straight away. So being able to have vehicles that are already in the fleet that are interchangeable makes it a lot more practical for fleets, and say a one-off special out of the US or Europe that you're importing in can be a lot more tricky that way.
Yeah, so this is the engine bay. This is where a lot of componentry resides in this car. So it's the same with all of our conversions. Mainly it's battery to try and get as much capacity as we can in the vehicle. But then it's also all the accessories that you would normally be driving off the engine. So things like cabin heat, your air conditioning, power steering, your brake assist and all of that stuff. It's all electrified. So you can see that's all packaged in the engine bay pretty neatly.
And then the other thing that we've just done as well is a vehicle control unit, which is, again, quite specialized and unique to ourselves.
Yeah, that allows for full integration. So particularly on newer vehicles where you might have traction control, stability control, things like that. It's not something that I think any other conversion companies have done with newer vehicles, especially electric. So we can interface with all of the Toyota electronics, the brake controller, the dash, anything on the Toyota CAN bus, and mimic what the engine ECU would have done originally. So it means that just like when you lose traction with the old V8 motor that was in this, our electric drivetrain responds the same, and all your crash safety systems are still working as they would have.
Yeah. Once we've developed,
Edwin, is that for a commercial corporate client there or a private client? What are the?
So this is our proof of concept. So this is our demo car that we take out and show people. We have a whole range of customer segments that we target in, and we'll go through those. We're really getting a good mix at the moment between government, utility companies, mining, and also agriculture is a big one at the moment, which I'll explain about. The difference with us is that, again, if as a client, in a specialized vehicle builds, you're coming along and we've got one client who's wanting a 50-kilometer range, and we've got someone else wanting a 1,000-kilometer range. So we're the ones that can actually adapt and change that. The other thing, we've built the system so it's we can drop it into the cars, and we don't change the chassis or the bodywork, so we can actually turn this back into a diesel car if a fleet wants to sell it on as a diesel stock vehicle. And it also means it's a lot easier for us to start sending these kits out to on-sellers or installers around the country and actually overseas. And that's been a critical part of what we've been designing into our builds. so that, you know, we don't want to be the only installer. We want to actually just be the manufacturer and shipping these out. So that means we can scale a lot quicker. The other thing, I won't go across the yard because I'll lose Wi-Fi. But over the opposite side of the yard is our first workshop, which is where we're currently manufacturing a full electric bus conversion. And that's where we do all our heavy manufacturing. But the aim next year is to move into a new facility with a lot more capabilities. And that's where we'll be able to scale and build quicker. So I do want to explain the...
Yeah, for sure. So one of the big aspects of doing a battery electric conversion is trying to package all the new components in the car. So these are vehicles that were originally designed around motors. And so we've got to fit electric motors, which admittedly are smaller, but you've also got to fit quite a large battery pack because with our specialised vehicles, they do have very large capacities. So to help us with that, we do some of our own manufacturing in-house, so we can do pretty advanced 3D printing. So we'll do that to mock up assemblies and components. So this is an example. This is a real motor that goes in our conversions, but weighs around 80 kilos. So this is a 3D printed version that I can just lift up and place in an engine bay, position it where I want to. And yeah, it makes the sort of R&D process a lot easier for us.
The thing that's amazing is if you look at the new electric motor going in, that's got 700 Newton meters of torque. So that's actually got more power, a lot more power than the original diesel in the petrol. And to think it's going to have two of those motors, so we can really adapt to whatever the client needs.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting for our conversions. Normally the performance is actually improved. A lot of people maybe think that electric vehicles are going to be slower, but it's actually the opposite normally for conversions like this in fleet vehicles.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all right.
So now I'll just do a quick walk around our team and just show how we've been developing it. So a big part of our work as well is also doing consulting for major fleets, councils, government, helping them work out the best way of transitioning to zero emissions. So we've got Christine behind us and Alex. So Christine she used to be a fleet manager at one of the councils locally here. Alex has done a couple of the largest electric vehicle depots in the country. So is now on our team. Got Emma, who's been critical, helping us with all the on-market work, which I couldn't have done all by myself. Christy's our bookkeeper and accountant and keeps us all straight. And then we've got the engineering team that, you know, going from the scans. It's always interesting looking at what they've got on the screens and being able to show how they take the data from the vehicles that are behind us, putting them into the system and then doing the engineering work on that. Lachlan is a mechanical engineer, so he's doing how we do all the framework. And then Joshua's doing all the systems, so writing the code. So sometimes it looks a bit like the Matrix, where he's looking at all the code on the screen. But again, critical stuff that we do in-house. And then Jai back to his day job. So very quick walk around, but it just gives you a real sense of some of the things that we're trying to achieve here. The thing that amazes me is what it was, sorry, and I'll just try and reconnect the laptop and hopefully this works properly. The thing amazes me is we moved into here, me, Jai and Kieran, it was under 2 years ago. And from that time, we've doubled into our second workshop, and our team's now grown to about 16. So just shows if you hit a really strong segment in the market that no one else can do, there's definitely an appetite for it. So yeah, that's where we're moving into now, is the next phase. So,
well done, Edwin. If you wanted, I know you've got a few slides to share. If you want to, when you get set up, look at that, and then just in case we had some questions coming in, guys. If you're online, I know we've got a decent number now. If you have any questions for Edwin that you want asked, please fill them in or type them out in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them for you after the presentation.
Yeah, moving into FY25, we did the new Land Cruiser, started our first bus conversion. We also started some major consulting projects for utilities and councils, which has really helped with the, obviously with the cash flow, but also the learnings and the network. Moved into this year, we also launched something called the ePod, which is our mobile battery storage solution, which I'll go into a little bit more detail. Again, a unique step that we need to do in terms of providing practical EV solutions for our fleet customers. Excitedly, we also won the award for the Outstanding Startup in the Hunter Valley Manufacturing Awards a couple of weeks ago. So that was a great achievement. And then, yeah, moving into next year, hopefully with a big team of supporters through the investment, we'll be looking at moving into a new facility, continuing to double our group and our business, focusing on some new R&Ds, getting some advanced manufacturing capabilities, and that's where we'll really start to scale. So in terms of our growth, it has been a very fast couple of years. We have invested a lot in our R&D because that's really what's going to be key to our continued expansion. And this year is going really well in terms of where we sit today, which is continuing on that growth path that we're expecting to see. In terms of some of the operational highlights that we've been going through, I won't go through all of these, but there'll be a lot more details within our offer doc when it comes out. Yeah, currently I've got 10 conversions, but we got another one yesterday. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do crowdfunding. It wasn't just about the investment, but about expanding our network. It was also about being able to market what we're doing and the excitement of what we're doing. And this has enabled us to, I think we had over 800,000 social views in the last 30 days, which has been phenomenal for us. A lot of interest, and I think our inquiries have tripled as well. Continuing to expand our team, and we also received the Australian Made certificate as well, which was quite exciting for us. So it really shows just how much work is happening here locally in Australia with our team. Even though we might be importing the core batteries from China, hopefully that will change in the future with Australian manufacturers coming on board. And also we get our electric motors from the US. But a lot of it is done in-house. In terms of fleet potential, and this is maybe the problems that we're looking at of trying to solve. Yeah, it's not just about classic cars. It's not just about Toyota Land Cruisers. In terms of the numbers in Australia, there's 21 million vehicles in Australia. 2.5 million are fleet vehicles. 3.4 million are light commercials, from vans to utes and everything in between. There's 900,000 classics. So that's a decent sized market just here in Australia. And there's no one else really doing what we're doing about providing those electric drive systems. However, we're starting to get a lot of inquiries from overseas now as well. So we're really expecting that to expand even further. In terms of the fleets, this is people expecting the fleets are going to be the ones that are really driving this transition to zero emissions, but we're expecting a lot of people online today also maybe already on board. We see those early adopters coming in, and it's already expanding quite quickly. So if you look at the Australian Electric Vehicle Council, they've got some really good data on how that's going to happen. And this is a projection they're looking at just in a very short couple of years. However, you got to remember that on average, the total age of a car in Australia is about 21 years before it gets scrapped. It's about 30 years for commercial vehicles. And normally they'd have 2 or 3 engine rebuilds during the life. So being able to provide an electric drop-in kit, a solution for them, instead of just doing an engine rebuild, is fantastic. It's a great way of moving to electric a lot quicker. And at the same time, there's a lot of specialized fleets that you just simply won't be able to buy an off-the-shelf vehicle. So that's where we come in, actually doing those specialist builds and modifications. So in my fleet career, I think I very rarely would buy a stock vehicle and put it straight into operations. We'll send it to a specialist to do aftermarket work before it goes into the fleet. But what we do see is as new vehicles come on board, like the Hilux, was exciting to see the new Hilux got launched electric version yesterday. There's a Shark, there's the F-150 in very limited numbers. They're great because what we see is the uptake of new EVs is where our market really accelerates in the aftermarket, the specialist builds, and we're already seeing that in the very short period we've been at. But at the same time, just to compare, like the Hilux has only got a 1.6 ton towing. It's only got 700 kilometer payload, 240 kilometer range. The Shark's 100 kilometer range on electric. The F-150, a little bit more expensive, got the capabilities. I think at the moment Ford's put it into production hold. So there's all these things where you go, there's a big market again for what we're producing, and particularly the Land Cruiser, especially when you think about, you know, those Land Cruisers are probably in operation for 10, 20, even more years. The other side of the business, the aftermarket, globally it's about 640 billion. In Australia, it's about a $20 billion market with about 40,000 people employed in that sector. Today, they use a lot of crate motors. We're developing the electric crate motor, you know, to help them shift to electric. And we're already getting a lot of interest from that here and overseas as well, where, you know, we can supply those at very reasonable prices. And we actually expect a lot of our customers will actually be other conversion specialists, rather than them having to go to UK, Europe or the US. Yeah, and as we develop, as the market expands, we'll look to expand into other sectors of the aftermarket segments, such as battery swaps. So if you had an early stage Tesla with a 300 kilometer range, today they might have got launched last week, I think 800 kilometer range. So we might be able to swap those batteries and give an improvement and modification upgrade. They're the things that we're looking at, and we're positioning ourselves to be at the forefront of that. In terms of the global market, you know, just on screen, I won't go through all of them, but this is really where we're starting to get inquiries from, because, you know, if you look at the Land Cruiser behind me, there's only us and a company out of Holland that actually provide conversion kits for these. So, you know, there's 10 million Land Cruisers in the world, so plenty of them. And that's just saying the Land Cruiser. Then we've got the Nissan Patrol and other ones as well. So we're really developing something quite unique. In terms of the team, really experienced, wide range of engineers, fleet specialists, EV infrastructure. You know, just shout out to Rick, our consulting CFO. That has been great during the crowdfunding, helping us put everything together. He's ex-Penske. Glenn Walker's an advisor on the board. He was the vice president of C Electric, company converting trucks to electric before they got sold to the US, and then all the engineering team as well. As I said at the beginning, like one of the things that we really understood early on was that we was going to have to develop a lot of our own IP to really be in a strong position and different to our competitors. So that's what we've spent a lot of time doing. You know, things like the vehicle control unit is very unique, CAN bus, battery management systems, and that then allows us to move into different segments and yeah, take the advantage of that. You know, if someone wants 1,000 kilometer range, and you know, we can work with them on that. It also means that as new products develop, we can jump onto that new technology, new chemistry very quickly and adapt and take that advantage. So for instance, you know, people probably heard about solid state batteries. You know, we're talking to our suppliers on that, but it's probably realistically a couple of years away. Yeah, but we're able to integrate things quite quickly. And by doing that, it's meant that we've been able to build up the one platform is what we're seeing in terms of our technicality, our systems, our IP. One of the things we're wanting to do in the crowdfunding is being able to develop our patents as well. So we'll be using some of the funds for that. And we've really tried to delve into three main solutions. So the first one is the e-kits that we call them. So e-kit 4, 5, 6, and 8, and also buses as well. Where, you know, we've developed this catalog of products that we can ship out to any workshop, and they can really install it. So it can take as little as 1 to 2 weeks to install one of our kits. It's really about getting all the information around each different vehicle, which we're building on at the moment. The other side of it is the fleet electrification solutions. So specialized fleets, some of our customers, they have, might have spent over $500,000 on a Toyota Land Cruiser for specialized work on the rails of the mines. They'll normally do 1 or 2 engine rebuilds, so we can do specialized solutions for them. We've also got, now we're getting inquiries from a manufacturer. We just signed up a manufacturer who builds machines for the mines. They've normally had a petrol or diesel engine inside this machine. They've now wanting an electric drive solution for that. So we can work with them, building and designing and manufacturing that for them. We also do a lot of the fleet transition plans. And then flowing down to the bottom left, that's our mobile battery storage solution that we launched at AgQuit, the largest farming show in Australia. And the reason for that, and again, what's quite unique about it, is that practical solution. So they're launching electric mini excavators from Volvo, Komatsu, and others. You've got the electric tractors coming out for some of the farming. You've got autonomous vehicles, you've got drones as well, and they're all needing the energy solution to be able to charge them in remote areas or in, maybe we're out on a construction site for 1 to 2 weeks. So that solution there can power your house for over a week or charge 3 Teslas at the same time. So that's where we're bringing all of this technology together and providing practical solutions for our clients, whether it's in a specialist trailer or maybe another trailer which you can put machinery on the back of, but we can develop and build all that. So just to, even though we've only really been in here less than 2 years, we're growing really quick, and we're already providing a lot of projects. So it's not just about an idea, we're actually delivering stuff already. So there, we've got the kits, we've got the Land Cruiser, which we launched at Everything Electric Show in Sydney. Actually, if you're going to be in Melbourne on Friday, I'll be there on one of the panels at Everything Electric in Melbourne, so please come and say hi. The right-hand side, that's a standard council fleet that we might be doing work for. We've got 2 on the go at the moment. The bottom one is the bus that we're converting to electric. So we've got the little electric motor sitting next to the old diesel, which is quite fascinating to think that electric motor puts out 30% more power than the old diesel. That's for a private client who's turning that vehicle into a mobile home. But we have just finished a project for one of the state bus authorities as well, who is also looking at, how do we electrify our fleet? And that's where we see this is a unique solution where, and a great example of where we sit in the fleets. A bus fleet, this bus fleet had 250 vehicles. They would normally keep a bus for about 25 years. They would therefore replace maybe 10 new buses every year coming into the fleet. If they want to go to electric, and they're saying by 2040, they want to be fully electric, that means you either have to retire the buses early, which is, you're not going to do, or you can repower it. Something that's growing quickly in the UK, Europe, and the US. But we're the only ones that are doing that in Australia, offering that service. So you can buy a diesel bus, say 400,000, a new electric one could be 950,000. We can repower an existing bus to electric, say for 300,000. When you offset that against the cost of replacing a diesel engine for say 60, 70,000, it pays for itself relatively quickly, maybe in 5 years. And then the rest of that life, it is a lot cheaper. Obviously, your electric a lot quicker as well. But that's where our solutions work in hand with the new electric buses or new electric vehicles. You can still buy your new ones. When you come into an engine replacement or an upgrade, that's where our solutions come in as well. And quite unique, but fleet managers obviously are looking for those things. The bottom one on the left, the yellow one, that's a good example of a machine that you might not be aware, but they would have a diesel or petrol engine in them today. And they're very specialized, and customers are looking for an electric solution for that. We're really the only ones that can provide a custom solution that we can manufacture for them, which is very exciting. And then, that's our Blue Beetle that we started it all with a couple of years ago. And that's really the key segments that we're looking at. Councils, government, utility fleets that we're working with today. the bus and the commercial fleets, which there are a lot of, mining, construction, and agriculture, and then the automotive aftermarket industry and classic cars. So as I've gone through some of the numbers, there's a whole range of reasons why we'd be looking at shifting over to electric. We can provide those. And the thing that makes us our competitive advantage is that we're doing that here. We're doing what the customers need. And we can provide, solutions at very cost-positive price, but solutions that work in operations. So in terms of the use of funds, we're, as Tim mentioned, we're only looking at currently raising $1 million for 15% of a company. And then as we go forward, we might look at further raises or IPOs in the future, obviously depending on what's the best fit at the time. But yeah, the main things that we're doing now that we've developed our products, developed our proof of concept products that we can show clients, we've got some strong clients that are asking for trials or the first demo stock. Now it's about moving into our manufacturing phase and sales, and that's where we're going to expand quickly next year. And then just to finish off, Tim, it was just investor rewards. So, I think the way it's looking at the moment, we might be nearly looking to raise as much from sales as it would be from investment, and obviously, hopefully, it would be a lot of investors that are also inquiring about, converting their existing vehicles or fleets over to electric. So there's a whole range of things in there, depending on where you sit or where you're comfortable investing. For instance, if you wanted to put $10,000 in as an investment, a kit could be, $2,000 to $5,000 off. So very worthwhile, but it's more interesting for us actually working with people that we know and who are supporting us at the same time. And that's it. Thank you, Tim.
Well said. Well done. Very comprehensive. A lot of questions coming in. If you do have a question and you're online, please fill it out, and we'll get that to Edwin. There's a slide there just on market segments, which I think was really interesting. If you want to share that again, sorry.
I'll try. You're testing me now.
See how you go. Otherwise, we can just talk about it. But it's nice to have a graphic if it's there. Sure. If that works easily for you. I'm interested in if we look forward, sort of, 1, 2, 3 years, where that, the 2 slides back, I think it was, Edwin. Or 3 slides, that one there. So what percentage then do you see the growth of the business? If you took top line revenue, what percentage are these 4 buckets going to fall in the next couple of years? Where's your greatest opportunity? Because you're talking about fleets, you're showing those, the slide previous to that with the buses and the fleet management, the mining side of things, machinery. Can you just give us a minute on that, just answering that question for us? Yeah,
sure. So in all my career, I think my last corporate role, I had a budget of about $200 million and employed about 950 staff under me. And I've always had a strategy of never putting all your eggs in one basket. And I think that's where maybe 1 or 2 others have actually struggled, where they've chased the mining dollar. I've had a lot of experience in mining. It's very risky. You have a year when it stops, all investment and spending stops, and other years where it's fantastic. I see the same in agriculture, buses, fleets, councils, government, utilities. The way that we're doing is spreading that risk over the 3 products that we've got through selling the kits, doing the consulting and the R&D, and advising, and then also doing the conversions. So we're trying to split third.
Where's the business at the moment? So what's the bread and butter for the moment for what you're doing in those buckets there?
So it's probably a third, and we've been trying to balance that on an annual basis. At the moment, we're doing a lot of spending in R&D, and then that's now we're getting customers from councils and government who are actually spending that money in the R&D and the manufacturing. Mining is more of a longer burn. Agriculture is coming in a lot quicker at the moment for farmers wanting to live off grid. So the Nissan Patrols for a farmer behind me. So we're really trying to stick to a third, and not just chase one that's dangling in front of us. And
then I guess the next question would be based on the use of funds and the potential, the macro trend of moving into the electrification of vehicles, where then do you see sort of projected sales for, you talked about FY26, but going forward in 27, 28, 29, where do you see that? Is it year on year? And then in the ability what you are at the moment, is it big enough to handle that, or will you need bigger premises?
Yes, a good question. So another key business strategy that we've been looking at and going for is building our network of suppliers and installers, so that workshops, that forward-facing network across the country and overseas, means that we can expand quickly, and we just focus on the R&D and the manufacturing here in Newcastle.
Okay.
And that's what we're seeing is going to be able to expand the scale of growth. If we are wanting to continue to double year on year, that's the best way to do it. So we're not just investing in our own overheads. We're working with partners and non-sellers to do that.
Is it a gap in the market that you're filling, or has it been overlooked? Are there competitors out there in other countries, in Australia or overseas, that are doing what you're doing, or have you found a niche? Have you sort of explored into that space at all?
Yes, there's probably, in terms of what we're finding is there's people that just pick one product and they try and scale that one product, which you can do in Europe and you can do in the US. So you pick a Porsche, you pick a Land Cruiser, whatever it is.
Okay.
Here in the Asia Pacific market, we don't think that's doable, and long term, that's not doable. We want to be able to invest in various things. So I think we're doing something quite unique. And it's really been driven by our experience in fleets and knowing what fleets are going to have to, the challenges they're going to face moving to zero emissions, and the aftermarket industry as well. And that's what we're doing, which we believe is very different to anyone else. And it's really by building our internal capabilities that we've been able to do that.
So in your EOI campaign so far, you've had over 750 expressions of interest.
Yep.
You also had about 150 questions. So I went through them in preparation for this. And I'll read this out. This is quite interesting, right? You've had requests for conversion kits for the Land Rover Defender, Toyota Hiace, Prado, Pajero, Holden Caprice, remember that one, Ford Falcon, trucks, buses, motorhomes, ATV, quad bikes, and even light aircraft. So you can provide your kit to all of those. Is that right?
I think you missed boats as well. We do.
Mixed boats. Sorry, I didn't see a boat in there, but that might have been another one.
Yeah, look, that's a typical week. What we're trying to do though is that the motor itself and the system and the controls and everything else, that core platform can be adapted into all those things. Yep. We don't want to be the one adapting them into all those vehicles and that necessarily. Cars are maybe different, but we could provide that drive system to a boat restorer. Yeah, we can work with them on that, and then they could be our own seller in the boats. Aeroplanes may be a bit different, but technology comes on. There's no reason, there's no limits to where we can go.
And I noticed that part of your use of funds is to put in place a patent for that IP. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've got 4 patents that we're in a process of, and we're talking to our lawyers about. So it is very expensive when you start looking at being able to protect those across multiple markets. However, it's definitely worthwhile in a couple of our core ones. So the VCU, our mobile battery storage solution, the technology inside it, and that's what we'll be doing. But ultimately, I believe as long as we're providing the right products, we've got the right relationships with our own sellers and our customers, and we're doing it at the right price, then the patent's not necessarily required, but it's obviously good to have.
But from a financial perspective, is it better for councils or mining companies to convert to electrification by you doing a conversion, or are they better just to take a internal combustion engine off the shelf? Financially, if you do it immediately or over the long term, given the shelf life of that particular product or particular vehicle, how does that work out for you? Where's the payback?
So the more kilometers you're doing is the better payback. We base all of our stuff on the whole of life costs. So as a fleet, everyone looks at whole of life costs. Might cost a little bit more to purchase, but you save a lot of money on your maintenance, your running costs. As I mentioned, we reduced our kit price about 35% from what it was getting imported from overseas, which really puts us in a very strong position to our competitors here. But we're seeing moving into our manufacturing, going into our next phase of advanced manufacturing, will drop that prices even further, and that really becomes a defensible position for us. It then expands the market, and then it means it'll be a no-brainer for people to start looking at taking out the diesel and petrol, when it starts to fail. We're not going to be doing Toyota Corollas, and we don't want to do Toyota Corollas. We're about a specialist, or the vehicles that have got a lot of intrinsic value besides the engine. That's what we're focused on.
What is the cost? There's questions coming in around what it costs you to convert a vehicle over. Is that based on the vehicle, or is it just ballpark roughly? Is it affordable for the average Aussie?
Yeah, so what we're trying to explain, it's like doing a performance engine upgrade, and then you add your battery storage on top. So if you look at the petrol behind us, putting dual motors in, full system would be the same as putting like a brand new V8 engine into it. The customers now then wanting 170 kilowatts of battery storage. So if you want to do that as a solar solution, because he's got a farm fully off grid, you'd probably be at 100 grand just in batteries. So we've been able to combine those two together and giving a unique solution, so we can charge on solar in the farmyard, but then drive it down the paddocks to run pivots off or machines off. So it's, price wise, it sort of stacks up when you combine the two, but it's really about giving a unique solution that no one else can give.
Okay, a sophisticated question here from Brian, and you'll be able to answer this because I don't know what the acronym means, but the conversion of vehicle able to accommodate the V2X idea, because he's saying it's game-changing market for EVs.
Yeah, so vehicle to X, definitely. So on the back of our
just explain what that is, V2X?
Sorry. So vehicle to load basically means that you can use the energy stored within the vehicle to power different things. Now, there's a whole range of steps that goes through. So vehicle to load is, you've got a couple of 240-volt outlets on the back of the ute, which we have on our Land Cruiser, and you can plug in tools, fridge, radio, whatever to run it off, and it would probably run a fridge for about a year. You then get to the next step, which is powering a house. So our Land Cruiser probably do it for about a week. Then you got vehicle to grid, where it means you got to put the energy back into a grid, which is very hard to do in Australia. That'll be the next phase of what we're trying to develop. Although you don't get a lot of money back from the grid anymore. So.
Yeah, sure. You mentioned earlier, which I was surprised at, the Shark, or the BYD Shark Ute only had a range of 100 kilometres. Is that right?
Yeah, on electric, full electric. So it's a great ute.
Okay, got it. Right. Yeah, it's a hybrid, right?
Yeah, plug-in hybrid. So we've had customers actually ask us to help them do some modifications on those. So again, if you're looking for modifications, there's not really anyone that can do it. That's where our speciality. We've had a council truck came to us 2 weeks ago because it had stopped working, electric one, so we fixed it for them. So there's not really many out there, but the aftermarket industry is going to change quick in the next 5 years, I believe.
So just looking 10 years, just putting on your futuristic viewpoint, 10 years time, Edwin. What are we looking at? Every vehicle that has a internal combustion engine that's older will want to become electrified. Is that sort of where we're going to get to?
Yeah, so we're seeing that overseas. So like say Norway, I think 98% of all new vehicles in Norway is now electric. The biggest challenge that we see is that change management. So once everyone starts to see electric around them, they start to trial them. And I imagine a lot of people online actually have an electric vehicle. If you're here listening today, you know that it's amazing. You know that it just kills the petrol and diesel. We find out pretty much all of our customers would have a new electric vehicle. Once they get a new electric vehicle, they want everything else electrified. So the classic cars, the fleets, buses, that change. So we're seeing the acceleration happening very fast. It's I think 35% year-on-year growth in EVs around the world. So forget about the social media myths that you see at the moment where people are saying it's not happening. It certainly is, and we're on the front foot of it.
Okay, so as an investor, I'm looking at the limitations on your business. Are you going to be limited by the amount of kits you can produce a year, the capacity that you have? What will be the limitations on your business?
No, so it's always a balancing act between obviously cash flow, revenue, sales, and that's where we've got a really strong team actually understanding, how do we do it sustainable? So we're not taking risks. So we're here for the long haul, definitely. That's what, that's why I'm the self-funded today. It's about scaling, and that's where as we start to scale, we start to take on a lot of more of these orders coming in, and we can push them through the door a lot quicker. There's really no limitation to us, and we could probably see, in the future.
So with the right amount of capital, you can grow to be whatever you need to be. Is there then, what do you see then from a 3 to 5 years as an investor, the liquidity event return, ROI, return on investment going forward? Do you see that being you get bought out by someone, you IPO in 3 to 5 years? Where do you see that sort of? Have you got a sort of a crystal ball to see what's coming up in 3 to 5 years?
Well, in terms of crystal ball, the one thing is that the world's going to electric vehicles. It's happening. In terms of our numbers, our forecasts, we're looking at like 18 times growth over 5 years. That's what we're hoping for based on the change in the EV market. In base of that, we're looking at potentially after this crowdfunding campaign all going successful, might be another one of those later on down the track when we've got a lot more value. Then it might be an IPO if it maybe 18 to 24 months time if all going well. Or we're also getting a bit of interest from some of the major players in this market. So who knows? Maybe in the future, whether it's a joint venture or a buyout. But obviously that would all be done, at the time, whatever's best for the business and the shareholders.
Now, you talked earlier about funding it yourself. You've funded this so far. This is your first sort of public capital raise.
It's been fully self-funded. The offer doc's got some details of a couple of finance support that we've had along the way, but it's just been me and my co-founder James. And the fact that we've had revenue coming in, we've had customers and some really strong name customers coming in, shows that the potential's there, and that's why we're in that position now where we can really start to bring investors on to actually scale it.
Have you needed a sales force or a BDM? Has it all just been sort of word of mouth and the capacity and deals have come to you, or customers have come to you? Has it been and how has that worked with this crowdfunding campaign? Because you said earlier, sort of off screen, that or before the webinar, that there's sort of a lot of interest coming from the awareness of the campaign.
So with the private market, people are coming directly to us. Social media's been massive. In terms of our corporate customers, it's really from our networks and from my team behind me, where we've got a really strong presence within mining, councils, government, utility companies. So it's a sort of cross approach. Interesting with this crowdfunding, one that we wasn't sort of expecting, but it's been an add-on bonus. We've actually had a lot of people reaching out to us wanting to be on-sellers and installers of our kits. So I think all of those things combined, going to car shows, so we're at Everything Electric on Friday. We've got NRMA Drive Day in Canberra next week. So all of those things, just starting to build a momentum and just keep that flywheel effect going.
Okay. I'm conscious of time. So thank you to those who have asked questions. If you haven't got to your question and you want that answered, please just email me, tim@onmarket.com.au. But thanks, Edwin, and thank you also to Jai. Been great to go through your factory there, the workshop, and see what's going on. For those online, there's still a lot there. I think we've retained pretty much 95% of everyone that started off, which means good feedback for you, Edwin. You're entertaining and engaging, mate. It's great feedback. Remember to, though, if you haven't registered your interest, please do so via the On Market website. The offer, importantly, is open for investment on Thursday. That's this Thursday, mid-morning. For those that have expressed their interest, you will receive an email So thank you again, Edwin. And we look forward to the campaign kicking off on Thursday morning. And, you've had a lot of interest, and it's a really, really exciting sector that you're in, and you've received a lot of attention deservedly because of the space you're in. It's very unique. And, congratulations on everything you've done so far.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Tim. It's been exciting, and really excited about the next few weeks and next year.
Yeah, and thank you for all the attendees. It will be recorded, and we'll get that back out to those that request a recording. Thanks, Edwin.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.